Hi guys, welcome to another video. My name is Kylie, if you didn't know, and today I'm going to be filming a video where I read Emma Watson's favorite books. I'm going to quickly introduce which books I chose to read. I feel like there's a lot of information on her and her favorite books out there in the ether, so I had a lot to choose from. So I think I want to do like a part 2 eventually, just because there's so many other books that she has spoken about that seem really interesting to me, but I chose 4 for this video. I read them over the span of like a couple weeks. And so yeah, I'm just gonna introduce them, then we'll go into the little vlog, and at the end of the video I'll let you know my thoughts. So the first book is Tiny Beautiful Things by Cheryl. I was actually reading this book already for a book club, so it kind of just lined up perfectly. But this book is a nonfiction, and it is basically a compilation of these advice columns that she would do under the pseudonym of Sugar. She is also the woman who wrote the book Wild, and there's a movie based on it. And throughout the book, she gives advice to people who email her asking for advice, but also you are able to get some insight onto her personal story and everything like that. So here's the first book. The second book that I'll be reading is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I also already own this. Actually, I basically owned almost every book that was mentioned. That's why I chose them. But she mentioned that she loved anything by the Bronte sisters, and I happen to have Wuthering Heights on my TBR already, so I chose Wuthering Heights. But if you weren't familiar, honestly, I wasn't really familiar with Wuthering Heights outside of like its existence in the literary world. In terms of plot, I really knew nothing. So just to intro it a little bit, it's basically about 2 houses, and they're just like different couples that form and marriages that happen and rivalries, and it's a gothic fiction, so it's a pretty dark backdrop, and yeah, that's kind of the general theme of Wuthering Heights. But yeah, I just chose this because I already owned it and it was really convenient for me. And the next book I don't have physically. I read this book on Scribd, and it's actually a graphic novel called Persepolis. I actually read this already in high school and I really enjoyed it. But this graphic novel is centered around a girl who's actually the author of the graphic novel, and she tells her story of what it was like to be in Iran during the Islamic Revolution, and basically how her family coped and all of the turmoil that occurred within the country and her personal life. And I thought, since it was a graphic novel, I'd be able to read it a little quicker. But yeah, that was the third book that I chose. And the last book that I chose said is a favorite of hers on some internet article. Am I convinced entirely that it's a favorite? So. I don't know. We don't know. But I chose it anyway because I also bought it recently and I was planning to read it, and it's relatively short. So that book is The Perks of Being a Wallflower. As you know, Emma Watson starred as Sam in The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and I'm sure that she really enjoyed this book, but I just think they might have plopped that on there because she was already in the movie, and I'm sure she had read the book anyway, so I don't know if it's a favorite, but I chose it. If you didn't know what The Perks of Being a Wallflower is about, it is about this boy who enters high school after a traumatic event happens in his life, and 2 people, Sam and Patrick, befriend him, and it's kind of about his coming of age, and it also discusses mental health and the sort of trauma that occurs within like adolescent lives and things like that. So I've seen the movie already. I've never read the book, so I thought this was a good opportunity to do that. Those are all 4 books that I will be reading throughout this vlog, and at the end of the video I'll let you know my thoughts on everything. And yeah, I hope you enjoy the rest of the video, and I'll see you in like 2 seconds. Hi everyone, this is a little bit of some weird lighting going on here, but I have like 150 pages of this left. I'm planning on finishing it tonight. I'm saying this out loud, so I actually do. And then I'm gonna start Wuthering Heights tomorrow. So you are sitting in my cabinet because I'm going to be making a latte. And I'm trying to think to myself if I want a hot latte or a cold latte. My heart is telling me, I don't know why I said cold latte. My heart is telling me that I want an iced latte. So I have this fun vanilla syrup and I'm gonna put it in here. Well, this is where the espresso is gonna go, and I need to get my cup and everything. So let's just change the angle and I'll show you how I make my latte. Test. It's pretty good. I'm trying to evaluate how I feel about the vanilla. Overall, I would say it's pretty good. I give myself like a 6.8 out of 10. I feel like I'm slightly too short for this angle, but also anything lower wouldn't work. So, life update, reading vlog update. I finished Tiny Beautiful Things last night. It is currently Thursday. I finished this on Wednesday. And I rated this a 4.5 out of 5. I did really enjoy this. So that's the update there. The next book that I'm going to read, that I said that I was going to start reading before, is Wuthering Heights. Let me go get it. I have the Penguin Classics edition. So I'm going to be starting this momentarily. I just saved the audiobook on Scribd. So I'm going to be doing like a listening, reading, following along sort of thing, because it just helps with my reading comprehension with classics. And plus with audiobooks you kind of get different, you know, voice intonations and everything. So it just creates a better picture in my brain, makes me understand it better. I'm sure you guys understand. Wuthering Heights is the current read. Let's go. Hi guys, another check-in. So it's a little bit later, different day obviously, but I'm almost done with Wuthering Heights. I'm planning on finishing it today at some point. So far I like it. I've never read Gothic, well I guess I have read Gothic fiction before, but like not, I think not since high school, so it's been a while. And also I haven't read any like Victorian era books since high school. So is it normal to hate nearly every single character in the book? Is that a normal reaction? Let me know. Overall as a book, I'm really liking it. Characters wise, like, it's just like, I'm just like, I hate you guys are terrible people, but I also think that's the point. Hopefully. Anyways, that's my check-in, and I'll let you guys know when I finish the book. Hi guys, I'm in my room, and last night I finished Wuthering Heights. I don't know why I'm out of breath, but now I'm going to be reading a graphic novel that I've actually already read in high school. I had to read this, and it is called Persepolis. Yeah, it's on Scribd. There's like a PDF of it. I probably talked about this in the beginning, but it is a graphic novel focused around a girl living through the Islamic Revolution in Iran. It definitely is serious. There's also a film on it, which I've seen, I think, before, probably after I read it in class. But yeah, I don't really remember explicit details on it, so I think it'll be nice to refresh myself. So here we go. Let's just do a little neat. So yeah, it just looks like that. But anyways, I'm gonna read that and I'll check in with you after I have done that. You are sitting on my window ledge, just thinking of other areas to place you because I'm too lazy to get my tripod out. Anyways, last night I finished Persepolis. I really enjoyed it, and it was my second time reading it all the way through, and I forgot a lot about what happened. I mean, I knew the premise and overall plot summary in a way, but I kind of forgot the events and everything. And I mean, it's a pretty short graphic novel, but it has so much in it, and so, you know, talk about that later. But if you are interested in learning more about the Islamic Revolution in Iran, that would be a really great place to start because it's very accessible in my opinion. So I also started Perks of Being a Wallflower last night, so I'll let you know what my thoughts are once that's all done, and that'll be the last book for today, and I'll do a little wrap up. And yeah. Hi! So it's me again from this exact position that I was in the beginning of the video. So as of today, I've officially finished all of the books that I said. So I'm just going to talk about each of them, and I'll give you my rating, and I'll just talk about each of the books, and then after I discuss all of the books, I'll kind of talk about how I feel, what are my thoughts. What do I think of Emma Watson? What can we learn about Emma Watson from these books? So, here we go. So, the first book that I read was Tiny Beautiful Things. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I thought this was really great, especially for someone in such a transitional period, which I am very much in right now. I'm about to graduate college, and there are a lot of people here that are young, that are old, that are married, that are divorced, that are single. It's just like every possible scenario you can think of is discussed in here. But even though all of the scenarios that are discussed are so different, you also are able to relate to something in every single story and every single column that she has in this book. And she is just such a funny person. The way she writes is very humorous, but also very raw and candid, I think. And I really enjoyed this book. I don't know if you're totally against dog earing, but I flagged a lot of the stories that I might find myself flipping back to, just because I think, while I may not relate wholeheartedly to a lot of the stories, just based on like what phase of life I'm in right now, I know at some point every single thing that was discussed in here will be relevant to me one way or another. And if anybody is in a transitional period, or just anyone is just unsure of themselves in life, which I think most people are, if you aren't, I'm jealous of you, but I highly recommend this. And yeah, this was a good read. The next book was Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. I gave this a 3.5 out of 5. Honestly, it wasn't even, you know, it being like from the Victorian era, because I found that I actually quite like the setting of the Victorian era and Victorian era writing and everything like that. But I just had a problem with the plot in the second half of the book. I know a lot of people are obsessed with this book, and it's like their holy grail, one of their favorites, if not their very favorite book. And while I can't say the same for myself, I can totally see where all of the hype comes from. It was just like not totally me. But with that being said, I gave it a 3.5 because I really, really liked the first half of the novel. I really enjoyed Catherine and Heathcliff's storyline and plot. I kind of started to lose interest when it went to the second Catherine and Linton's storyline. And I understand that it was sort of the point, but I just found the second Catherine and Linton to be even more annoying than the previous Catherine and Heathcliff. But then even Heathcliff in the second half was just like, I wanted to strangle him. It was just like unbearable for me. And I was just starting to think, I was like, are people really this terrible in real life? And while I don't think this was necessarily based on anything that has occurred, I think, you know, Emily Bronte's like point in this was to make it so far-fetched to really convey that message to the reader of like what actually might be occurring in Victorian society. I felt like I got the point in the first half, and then I just went really far in the second half. I don't know if that's a hot take, but you know, I do want to check out other Bronte sister works at some point in the future, but this was good. I liked it. 3.5 out of 5 is good, but I just docked some points from like this part of the book. And then the third one I don't have a physical copy of, but that is Persepolis. I gave this, I think, a 4.5 out of 5. I really, really enjoyed this. I think the great thing about this is that you are able to learn about the political environment of the Islamic Revolution in Iran, but also what it's like to experience it on a personal level. And on top of that, I think it's an extremely accessible way of conveying that message. Honestly, I think even middle schoolers would probably understand what was going on. That being said, I think being older, I was able to digest a lot more of it than I was in high school when I was like 15 or 16 years old. I just think there's a lot of political context that you don't necessarily pick up when you're younger, or maybe not necessarily younger, but just less well-versed in politics, I guess. But there's definitely talk of communism and totalitarianism and imperialism and just like all of those sorts of things. I totally recommend it. If you have Scribd, it's a pretty quick read, and I learned a lot from that. And there also is very much an emotional aspect of the story. It is very real, very human, and at times humorous, and I just really, really enjoyed it. And so now we're going to the last book, which is The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and I really enjoyed this. Okay, I'm about to say something, and I don't know if anybody else relates to this, but me and my friend have mutually agreed that this book is the equivalent to Ribs by Lord. I don't know if that makes sense, but what I mean by that is, to me, Ribs by Lord is the most, like, angsty, coming of age, just, like, very freeing, liberating song to listen to. It makes me feel like I'm 14 years old again. And I think this book also reminds me of that. It might just be because of the time this movie became popular. I just feel like the feeling of Ribs by Lord is the same as this book. I don't know if anybody else like has this weird obsession with Ribs by Lord, but I really do. It makes me feel things that no other song really can. And I know when I'm like 50 years old and I'll put on Ribs by Lord and my children are gonna be like, Mom or Grandma or whatever, I don't know what, they're gonna be like, what the heck is wrong with you? Why are you so emotional over this song? I genuinely don't know how to put into words, but I would say this book is probably like a 4.5 out of 5 for me. I really like it. I think the main appeal of it is the nostalgia factor for me personally. I don't know if anybody else feels that, but I really don't know what else to say. I feel like, I don't want to assume too much, but I feel like everyone has a general idea. Just because I feel like within our pop culture, I guess, this was really hyped. What do I have to say about Emma Watson based on these books? So I guess one could say, an obsession with Emma Watson. I just remember being like young in high school and looking up to her so much just because she was so vocal about her beliefs, and she's someone I still look up to this day. I think she's very authentic, and I think, you know, her being a famous actress and probably rich and well off for the rest of her life, still deciding to go to university and pursue an education for the sake of being educated, I thought was very admirable. I just have a lot of respect for her as a person. That's very biased, and that is why I chose her. I tried to choose like a diverse bunch of books. So we got like a classic, a nonfiction, we got, you know, our classic, like, I guess this could be YA fiction, and a graphic novel. I think she's a smart lady, I really do. And I don't think she's doing it for show. I think she genuinely is just like that. I don't know. But I definitely want to do a part 2 to this video because there's so many other books that she has mentioned and talked about that I have yet to. I will not be doing any Harry Potter reading just because I feel like that's kind of redundant and unnecessary. I'm just going to end the video right here. I hope you guys enjoyed watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!